Welcome, everyone. Baseball is on the air. Major League Baseball on Fox, and we all welcome you to Wrigley Field. I guess we can still call it historic Wrigley Field, where they've been playing baseball since 1914. The Chicago Cubs are on the field, and we are getting set for what is Game 3 of this 4-game series. Yesterday, a double dip. 2 for the price of 1 here at Wrigley, and the Dodgers won them both. And as we look at this Los Angeles Dodger lineup, it starts with Tom Goodwin in center field. Mark Resselanic bats second at second. Sean Green is hitting third in right field. Eric KARROS cleans up at first base. Then Todd Hundley bats fifth. He's the catcher. Adrian Beltre is at third base batting sixth. Hitting seventh. Bruce Avon just added to this roster. He's in left field. Alex Cora is the shortstop batting eighth. And Matt Hergis will make his fourth Major League start. The right-hander, who is a 30-year-old rookie, has a record of 8-3, and he's on the mound today for the Dodgers. For the Cubs, they started off with Eric Young at second base, Mark Grace batting second at first, Sammy Sosa hitting third in right field. Then it's Rondell White in left, Damon Buford in center field. Willie Green is over at third. Hitting seventh is the shortstop Ricky Gutierrez. Jeff Reed is catching, batting eighth, and pitching and batting ninth. It's the right-hander Kevin Tapani who checks into this game with a record of 8-10. We are setting this as if it were 1939, as Keith and Steve have gone through. And if this were 1939, the Chicago Cubs would be playing and coming off a pennant year in 1938. And of course, the Dodgers, which were then the Brooklyn Dodgers, had made an instrumental decision in the what is now history of their franchise, and that is when Larry McPhail tabbed their shortstop, Leo DeRocher, to take over as the player manager. Here's a swing and a foul on a play off to the left, and we're underway on a Saturday afternoon at Wrigley Field. Tom Goodwin, reacquired by the Dodgers, batting .266, 5 home runs, 52 RBIs, tied for second in the league with 43 RBIs. He hits one down the left field line, slicing into the corner, and that ball is foul. Just foul. Played by Rondell White. The count 0-2 on Tom Goodwin. Again, the top three in this Dodger lineup, Goodwin, Resselanic, and Green. Talk about player managers at this time in 1939. Both the Dodgers and Cubs had player managers. Gabby Hartnett, the catcher, was the player manager for the Cubs, and Leo DeRocher, as I mentioned, the player manager for the Dodgers. Here comes an 0-2 pitch from Kevin Tapani on its way, and Goodwin a comebacker. Back to Tapani, little flip to first, and that's how we start here at Wrigley Field. Well, we hope the rain stays away here today. Wind blowing out of the southeast, 5 miles per hour. So as the wind blows toward the left field corner, we give you an idea at the bottom of your screen exactly what the capabilities were of television coverage at this time. We play this first half inning as if it were 1939. Here's Resselanic. First pitch is a high strike from the right-hander, Kevin Tapani. Resselanic batting in the number 2 spot, hitting .285 homers, 36 RBIs. He has stolen 10 bases, been caught 1 time. The 0-1 pitch is low and away, a ball and a strike. This, by the way, the year that, ironically enough, Red Barber began with the Dodgers and Mel Allen began with the Yankees. 1 ball, 1 strike, and a swing and a foul straight back, and the count 1-2. So Kevin Tapani has done himself a favor and gotten ahead of the first 2 hitters. Goodwin a comebacker back to Tapani, and now a 1-2 delivery. About to be delivered to Mark Resselanic with Sean Green waiting to hit next. Here it is on 1-2, and it's popped into right field. Sammy Sosa hardly has to move. In and to his left. He makes the catch. 2 out. We apologize as we've lost our feed from Wrigley Field. The 1939 standby slide that goes onto your television screen at home. Engineers working feverishly trying to restore the picture. I have a feeling it'll come back before the first pitch to Green. Amazingly enough, it is back, and it's a strike over the inside corner. Sean Green hitting .274, 23 home runs, 87 runs batted in his first year with the Dodgers. The 0-1 pitch is in the dirt from Tapani. 1 ball, 1 strike. Green last year with Toronto hit .309 with 42 home runs. So while he stands in with 23 home runs, he has at this point come up a little short of expectations for him in his first year in Los Angeles. Here comes a 1-1 pitch from Tapani, and it's fouled out of play off to the left, and the count 1-2. So Tapani, who has the reputation of being a right-hander who will come right after every hitter, detests walks more than most, has been out in front of all 3 hitters here in the first inning. He's 1-2 on Green, and he deals up and away 2 balls, 2 strikes. If this half inning continues, Eric KARROS is batting behind Green as Gary Sheffield has picked this 5-game stretch to serve his suspension. Little pop-up on the left side of the infield. Willie Green is there, takes care of Sean Green, and that will do it for the first half inning in 1939 here at Wrigley Field. A half inning with the Cubs coming to bat, no score in Chicago. All right, Keith, thank you very much. Here at Wrigley Field, if you can notice, a small improvement with the black and white coverage from Wrigley Field. 3 cameras. There's one at high home. There's one on the first base side and down the third baseline. There will be no replays, no graphics, and as you can tell, the audio still poor. No effects, as we call them, where you can hear the crack of the bat or the crowd noise over the microphone that I'm speaking into. And as we go to the bottom of the first inning, we are now set in the year 1944. Eric Young, Mark Grace, Sammy Sosa, the bottom of the first inning for Chicago. And the first pitch low and away from the 30-year-old rookie, Matt Hergis. Tim McCarver will join me shortly. He's in the back of the booth working on an Andrews Sisters routine that we've worked out for you to show you a little later. That's him cackling in the background. A pitch on the outside corner, 1 ball, 1 strike. He'll be playing the role of Laverne. 1 ball, 1 strike. And the next from Matt Hergis. Down and away, 2-1. 1944 as opposed to 1939 when the first Major League Baseball game was televised. A college game had been televised earlier in the year as Young takes it low, and the count 3 balls and a strike now from Matt Hergis. The college game between Columbia and Princeton. And the first televised Major League Baseball game was between Brooklyn and Cincinnati. With Red Barber at the microphone. 3 balls and a strike, and a delivery hits the outside corner. 3-2 now on Eric Young, who's hitting .238 since the All-Star break. He'll be followed by Grace and then Sosa. Young waits for a 3-2 delivery from Hergis. Here it comes, and a chopper up the middle. To his left, Cora. Gloves it, throws it off balance. Good play, 1 out. Alex Cora to his left takes a hit away from the speedy Eric Young, and that's the way the bottom of the first inning begins. When we were talking to you in the supposed year of 1939, in that August 26th game, just literally days before the world would change forever with the invasion of Poland by the Germans. Now we're in 1944, and obviously wartime. Here comes the first pitch to Grace, and it's low and away for ball 1. Baseball would experience a tremendous surge in popularity after the war. And you think back to some of the years missed by some of the game's greats, like the guys talked about during the pregame show, Ted Williams, among others. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, nobody on. Grace took a strike over the inside corner. Now the 1-1 pitch from Matt Hergis on the way, and it's on the outside corner. Grace checked his swing, but it's a called strike, and the count 1-2. The home plate umpire for us today is Charlie Williams with Mark Wegner at first, Jim Reynolds at second base, and Jim Wolf over at third. A ball and 2 strikes on Grace, 1 out, nobody on, and the pitch from Hergis is just inside. Held there by Chicagoan Todd Hundley, playing for the Dodgers. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The 36-year-old Mark Grace, who is signed only through this year, waits with Sosa on deck. The 2-2, chopped foul off toward the Dodger dugout. Still 2-2. Talk about movies during 1944. Meet me in St. Louis. Gaslight. Swinging on a Star. Don't Fence Me In. The music of the time. 2 balls, 2 strikes with 1 away, and the pitch from Hergis is grounded to second. Gresalonic there on 3 hops, picks it up, throws him out, 2 gone. And as we told you moments ago, you'll see at the bottom of your picture this turn back the clock game. The black and white coverage has sharpened a bit from when we showed you the top of the first inning in 1939. 3 cameras, all located on the mezzanine level, and now we've added one down the first baseline as opposed to in the first inning. And there will be no graphics, there will be no replays, but we will introduce those features to you as this game wears on. 2 out, nobody on. Sammy Sosa, the local favorite, takes a strike over the heart of the plate from Matt Hergis. Sosa, number 1 in the major leagues with his 43 home runs. From July 8th on, in 43 games, he's hitting .337, 22 home runs, and 48 RBIs. He waits for an 0-1 delivery from Hergis. And he takes a breaking ball low and away, a ball and a strike. Skies are threatening here in Chicago. There is a forecast for showers throughout the day. And Todd Hundley, the Dodger catcher, will trot out and talk to Hergis as they try to figure out a way to retire Sammy Sosa and the Cubs in order here in the first inning. During this year, 1944, baseball's first commissioner, Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis, passed away November 25th. Joe DiMaggio discharged from the Army Air Corps September 14th of 1944. And here in the bottom of the first inning with 2 out and nobody on, Sosa waits for a 1-1 pitch from Hergis. Here it is, and a swing and a miss as he tied him up inside and on the hands, the count 1-2. The Dodgers went in order in their half of the first inning. Goodwin, Gresalonic, and Green. The Cubs are threatening to do the same. Sosa, 117 runs batted in as the Cubs play their 128th game of the season. Here's a 1-2 to Sosa, and it's in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes. This park originally called Weigman Park, then in 1920 became Cubs Park, and in 1926 became Wrigley Field. The bleachers were built back in 1937, the same time the ivy went up. And then roll the clock forward, fast forward, 1988, when they installed lights. Here's the 2-2, ground ball too short. Picked up by Cora. His long throw across is perfect. And the Cubs go in order in their half of the first inning. When we come back, it'll be 1953. It'll be the second inning with no score. All right, Keith, thank you very much. You hear Sinatra in the background. At this point in his life, a young Tim McCarver is 11 years old, and he would begin his fascination with Sinatra, a lifelong fan. Nancy Sinatra, that is. Our first insert on the easel, this is Eric KARROS, leading it off in the second inning with no score, and he pops it up into shallow center field. Here comes Damon Buford, and he missed it. We'll see if we have our first hit or our first error waiting on it. Likely will be an error, and it is. Error on Buford, his 3rd of the year. And so the Dodgers have the first base runner. This is how the graphics were done on that easel back then. That means that Todd Hundley must be walking to the plate. An error to start the inning, and Todd Hundley stands in. As I mentioned, grew up in Chicago. His father, one of the Cub heroes, Randy Hundley. And Todd, who last year hit .207, still 24 home runs, 55 RBIs, trying to make his way back from that right elbow surgery, has had a rebirth of sorts at the plate, hitting .312 now with 22 home runs, 56 RBIs, and lately he's even been better behind the plate at throwing out potential base stealers. Hundley with 1 on and nobody out. First pitch a ball, and now the next is low and away. 2 balls, no strikes. From Here to Eternity was the movie of the time. prefer blondes as well. And here comes a 2-0 pitch from Tapani to Hundley, and a swing and a foul straight back. Tim McCarver will join me in the bottom of this inning. Standing by, it's killing him that he can't talk for the first inning and a half here at Wrigley. But he is waiting patiently. When the analyst became a staple on television coverage. The year again is 1953. 1 on with nobody out. 2 balls and a strike on Todd Hundley. Tapani is set, and the pitch grounded back to the second baseman. Young, a flip to the shortstop, covering it on to first. A double play. Eric Young straight out of the glove to Ricky Gutierrez. 4-6-3 on the double play. And we see during the squeeze back the sort of innovations that had come to pass by this time, and well, we can't show you a replay of that fantastic play. Tinker, Evers, and Chance would have been jealous. 2 out, nobody on. Good work up the middle by the Cubs defense, and there's a strike as it's poured over the inside corner to Adrian Beltre, who has been red hot. Tapani trying to pitch around a leadoff error. There's another hit into right center field off the bat of Adrian Beltre, and he, as we mentioned, had a fantastic day here yesterday during the doubleheader. Was 4 for 4 with 4 RBIs, including what was a game-winning home run in Game 1, and then 1 for 3 with an RBI in Game 2 as the Dodgers won both. Bruce Saban stands in. The hand comes in to fix the graphic. Which did happen back in 1953. 1 on, 2 out. The first pitch is a strike into Bruce Saban. His first at bat with the Dodgers. Saban picked up in early August from Pittsburgh. He's also been in the big leagues with Florida. He waits, in the 0-1 delivery from Tapani is hit high and deep into left center field. Back is Buford to his right. Near the track, he's there and has it to end the inning. In the inning for the Dodgers, no runs, 1 hit, 1 error, 1 left. An inning and a half complete here at Wrigley. When we come back, 1957. Tim McCarver as well. Bottom of the second, no score. Nothing but solid information that you'll get from Keith Olbermann, whether it's the year 2000 or it's the year 1957. As Tim McCarver joins me. Hi, partner. 1957. You would have been a 15-year-old from Memphis, and you were just beginning your fascination with a guy named Elvis. I was indeed. And there were a lot of away for a ball. See, you're already stepping on me. Been here for 4 seconds. That's what happened in 1957. And there were a lot of adults that called one another partner back then, too. 1 ball, no strikes, and the next from Matt Hergis to Rondell White is pop foul, backing out of play, 1-1. Well, it was highly controversial back in 1957. And in this time, the center field camera, as you're seeing here for the first time on our telecast today, was introduced. Better zoom lenses and a way to look in from center field as that's line foul. Harry Coyle is the director who is credited with this major innovation in baseball coverage on television. And Tim, the controversy of the time surrounded those in baseball worrying that this shot would give people at home a better view of the game than they might get at whatever stadium they may visit, and it would hurt baseball attendance. 1 ball, 2 strikes now on Rondell White, leading it off. Bottom of the second, it's low and away, 2-2. Baseball players, on the other hand, were very concerned with that center field shot because it was thought that teams could steal the signs from the catchers. Of course, you didn't have a close shot like you do now, where you can see the signs. On 2-2, it's lined into center. Goodwin to his left. Makes the running catch, and the first 4 Cubs have been retired in order. As we look at the bottom of our screen and we see the different innovations that were with us all in 1957, the audio, you can hear the crack of the bat. whereas earlier you couldn't hear any of that. The shot from center field. This is Damon Buford with one out and nobody on. And that breaking ball caught the outside corner for strike one. It is vitally important that you realize something that we said early on in the day, that we at Fox, the Johnny-come-latelys of baseball coverage, are not doing this to in any way poke fun at those who started back in 1939, or those who were instrumental in television's progress in covering baseball through the years as we play now in 1957, but rather to honor those men and women who came before us. Line drive caught by Gressolonic. He heads off, but even in 1957, Mark, 3 outs per half inning. That's only out number 2, and that'll bring in Willie Green. So names like Red Barber, Mel Allen, Harry Coyle, who we will honor more specifically as this game wears on, and those who put on the headsets or talked into the microphones. Vince Scully, the longtime Dodger announcer. Well, there's a look at the graphics of the time. We're in 1961. Tim, I'm starting to believe that this was Keith and Steve's idea.
Very effective, I must say.
Good work back in the studio, pre and during the game, as Alex Cora goes after the first pitch and pops it up left side. Rondell White comes in and make the catch. One away, and here is a look at the first replay of the game. It's called a program replay. In other words, you'll see, and this is the replay, you'll see what you just saw.
Exactly as it happened.
The audio's a little better. We'll have music going to breaks. Here's a strike over the outside corner to Matt Burgess, who throws right, bats left. Some of the current events at the time. Paul Newman's The Hustler came out in 1961. The late Joseph Heller wrote Catch 22. And as Keith Olbermann talked about, 1961 is something we were all talking about back in 1998 with the home run chase. That drives Burgess off the plate, a ball and 2 strikes in the Dodger pitcher.
One thing we failed to mention, back in 1957, Ernest Hemingway published A Farewell to Arms, and that's also something we're talking about.
Ground ball up the middle, a base hit for Burgess, and for the Dodgers, their second hit of the afternoon. It belongs to Matt Burgess. His first hit, he's 1 out of 9.
Because in baseball in the late 90s, there has been a farewell to arms. See, Fox replay up in your left-hand part of your screen, the reason that they put that in back there, people were not used to replays on television, so they had to be reminded that this was indeed a replay.
So Burgess is on, and back to the top of the order, Tom Goodwin. He bounced back to the pitcher his first time up. Tapani is off the outside corner with ball 1. You talk about arms. The 60s, well known, especially later in the decade, for maybe one of the greatest pitching decades in the history of this game. And that year in 1968 that you were such a vital part of with Bob Gibson and that 1.12 ERA. Baseball had to change the height of the mound after that season and try to swing the balance back toward the hitters, which we all know, as Goodwin swings and misses 1 ball, 1 strike, is without a doubt, since that change, and never more so than here in the late 90s and obviously now in the year 2000, the offensive explosion that's taken place. Now people call for a study of the rules and maybe some sort of study to be done to see if the balance can be swung back toward the pitching somewhat. A check swing on a pitch low and away. And they count 2 balls and a strike on Tom Goodwin.
Staggering pitching performances during the 60s. The evolution of the Dominican dandy, Juan Marichal. Started his career with the San Francisco Giants. Sandy Koufax.
Hit to the second baseman, Young. The flip to the shortstop for 1, and out in time as the double play comes up a little short because of the speed of Tom Goodwin. The force out 4-6, and
Goodwin is on at first with 2 out. This might be a spot where he does some running. I was going to say that I think the Cubs are going to see Tom Goodwin. They saw him run to first. Now they're going to have a chance to see him run to second. 43 stolen bases on the year. Tied with the Cubs, Eric Young for second in the league behind Luis Castillo of Florida. So 1 on, 2 out. And the Cubs now will pay a lot of attention to Tom Goodwin over at first. Mentioned Sandy Koufax from 1963 through 1966, the year that he retired. 3 Cy Young awards, and in those days, they only gave 1 Cy Young award. It was for the best pitcher in the game. 1967 being the first year where baseball went to a Cy Young award for 2 leagues, 1 for the National, 1 for the American. No balls, 1 strike, and Gresolonic hits it fair past third down into the left field corner. Goodwin is flying around third. They bring him to the plate. The relay by Gutierrez too late, and the Dodgers take a 1-0 third inning lead. Replay in the upper left-hand corner, and here it is again. Right inside the bag. And by Green at third, fielded as quickly as possible by Rondell White. He hits the cutoff man, but the throw is late. That's why the Dodgers got Tom Goodwin. That speed, he avoids the double play. Most guys would be doubled up on a ball like that. The inning would be over. But not only does he beat the play, but scores on the double. So the Dodgers, who have won 5 in a row, take an early third inning lead here at Wrigley and now have Sean Green at the plate with Gresolonic at second and 2 out, and he rips one into deep right field. Back is Sosa to make the catch on the track. 1961, Alan Shepard, America's first man in space. And the different advancements, we will roll forward to 1969, and we send you back to our local stations. I'll do my best, Keith Olbermann. It's a 1-0 Dodger lead as this game gets into the bottom of inning number 3. Ricky Gutierrez will lead it off for the Cubs. He'll be followed by Jeff Reed. And then the number 9 batter, the pitcher, Kevin Tapani. If you only knew what was happening in this booth right now. First pitch, a strike over the outside corner. After this first at bat, I will attempt to end my career in 1 minute. Now I'll attempt to give you a live commercial as Gutierrez flies one into shallow center. Might drop, will drop, it is. Hey, hey, a base hit into center for Ricky Gutierrez. And now a word from one of our sponsors, Wrigleyville Shaving Cream. A shaving cream that glides on ever so soft. A shaving cream that digs down deep into your pores. It pulls the whiskers up and it says, hello there. Shave me. Put me into the sink and whisk me away into the nearest lake. Oh, I'm feeling smooth. Wrigleyville Shaving Cream helps to bring you baseball today on Fox. It's about as good as I can do. Back to the action. Bottom of the third inning. And Gutierrez on at first with the Cubs' first hit of the afternoon. This booth is a mess. A mess. Just prior to coming on at the beginning of the inning, I dropped my little shaving cream brush. 1 ball, no strikes, and Reed fouls it back to the left. Jeff is a .218 hitter. 4 home runs, 22 RBIs for Reed in his first full season with Chicago, but only 2 out of his last 21 in the last 6 games. This booth looks like my bathroom when I checked out of a hotel today. 1 ball, 1 strike on Reed. Runner at first, Gutierrez. 2 balls and a strike.
Like an old barber, you got to clean up your partner every now and then.
Sometimes it's a good thing there are more cameras to shoot the movie. The year is 1969, and a major innovation will happen after this at bat. Hit and run, and it worked. Base hit for Reed. It's 2 on with nobody out. Tim, they had the second baseman, Bressolani, moving to his right by starting the runner. It's a hit for Reed, and now the big innovation, color. Not what you're used to at home yet, but their first attempt at color.
The hit and run, on the other hand, has been around for a long, long time in baseball. And the Dodgers had the wrong guy covering. Had the shortstop been covering, Bressolani throws out Jeff Reed. Mark made a terrific adjustment at second base by coming back and making the play and almost getting Reed at first. As it stands, an infield hit, and look for Kevin Tapani to bunt.
Electronic graphics now with 2 on and nobody out as the sun tries to pop through here at Wrigley. Showing bunt, pulling back, taking ball 1 low from Matt Hergis. Hergis has been consistent, if nothing else, in his previous 3, in his first 3 Major League starts. He's been a loser every time out, and he's gone exactly 6 innings every time out. Runners on at first and second with nobody out. And Tapani drops down at 1 foul, a ball and a strike. Nice and even with the graphics, straight lines, and certainly nothing that we're used to now, but the electronic graphics with the advancement in color, and we're starting to get more toward the typical coverage that viewers have come to expect now as we've moved into the 21st century. 2 on with nobody out, 1 ball, 1 strike. Tapani, 9 out of 53 at the plate. Just spins but doesn't throw.
Yeah, the sooner a batter squares around, the more inclined he is to use that fake bunt swing play, as Tapani tried to do on the first pitch and is apt to do right now.
The bunt off the plate is foul, and now Tapani's in the hole 1 and 2. So with 2 on and nobody out, the Cubs down by a run. Have the tying and go-ahead runs on base, and they have Tapani at the plate, trying to advance the runners. And his own cause, as he is in search of win number 9 on the year to go with his 10 losses. Runners on at first and second, nobody out. Tapani drops down in beauty. It's a test for Hergis. He's up to the test, and the sacrifice good, 1-3. Now a slow motion replay.
First time that slow-mo has come into being. And a good job by Tapani. 3rd time the charm for Kevin. Trying to bunt the first 2 and connecting with the 3rd.
So they got him on, they got him over, and now it's up to Eric Young or Mark Grace to get him in. 1-0, the Dodgers lead here in the 3rd inning. The year of our coverage, 1969. Ripped down the line, foul. Into the Cub bullpen, strike 1. Mario Puzo's The Godfather came out in 1969.
First year of divisional play in baseball.
Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, first man to do it.
On cue, the organist just played Fly Me to the Moon. Must be listening.
2nd and 3rd, 1 out. No balls, 1 strike.
Young rips a base hit into left field. 1 run scores to tie it. Here comes Reed, and the Cubs take a 2-1 third inning lead. Eric Young only 3 for 27 before this hit. And against his old team, he drives in the first 2 runs of the game for Chicago. The Dodgers have beaten the Cubs 8 straight here at Wrigley Field. And that horrible happening back on May 16th when 19 Dodgers were initially suspended for going into the stands when a fan took the cap of Chad Kreuter. Originally, the suspensions were for a total of 89 games and $77,000. Suspensions reduced to 45 games and $71,000. And as we've mentioned, Gary Sheffield is now serving his 5-game suspension for his involvement in that incident. And we understand there's a chance, even though he could play tomorrow, meaning he's eligible, his 5-game suspension is up after today, that he will not even appear here in Chicago, suffering from the flu earlier in the week. These Dodgers will head to Milwaukee after this series concludes tomorrow. Check on the runner at first, Young, and while we talk so much about Tom Goodwin with his 43 stolen bases, Eric Young with his 43, 17 of his last 17, and he's held on by Eric KARROS. Crowd into it, packed house, 1 out, and a pitch out. Young stays put. Tied for second in the National League with his 43 stolen bases. Butch and Barb Hergis have made the trip here from the home of the University of Illinois to watch their son Matt pitch for the Dodgers. He is starting to fall apart here in the 3rd inning. Claude Osteen, the pitching coach of the Dodgers, out to talk to Matt. And as you said earlier, Joe, a 30-year-old rookie. He toiled for 7 minor league seasons in the Dodger farm system. 35 of his teammates, when he was toiling down for AA and AAA Albuquerque, AA San Antonio, 35 of his teammates came to the Dodgers during that time. And Matt kept waiting and waiting and waiting, and finally got his chance and is in trouble right now. Big league trouble.
4th inning, it's 1974, and we're hovering somewhere above Wrigley Field. Chroma key, and I'm standing here with my partner Tim McCarver. For some reasons, the Blazers just didn't seem to fit right in
all of them seemed to have been that length where the long sleeve shirt and the whole cuff showed, didn't it?
It did. You think of a guy like Kurt Gowdy at this time, Tony Kubek, and obviously many others. But this is chroma key. We're standing in front of a green felt curtain that there. That's an odd shot.
Very odd.
That's what it looks like.
That's why we can't wear green.
That's all I have to say about chroma key.
But your tie is green today.
My tie is green.
Yeah.
Kurt Gowdy could never wear green. He would disappear. 2 balls and a strike on the leadoff hitter, Eric KARROS. There's a strike. 2 balls, 2 strikes. So just to show what it looks like in real life, this is it, just like a green curtain. And stand in front of it, and they can put you anywhere you want to be.
That's right.
KARROS gets into one and hits it down the left field line. It's in the corner and foul. If you could pick anywhere that chroma key could send you, Mr. McCarver, where would you pick? I'm talking about the 2000 Tim McCarver.
Right now?
1974 Tim McCarver.
Any place but behind the plate.
But behind the plate. All right. I'll give you that. 2 balls, 2 strikes on KARROS. And like they said during the pregame show, you don't need to understand how electricity works to turn on the light. I really don't quite understand why that would work and why it has to be green. While I switch from a stick mic to a headset, why don't you tell the folks at home why that curtain has to be green?
I cannot tell the folks at home why it has to be green, but Eric KARROS ropes one, finally finding the fair part down the left field line. Nice play by Rondell White. So after a couple of hard hit foul balls, Eric straightens it out, as they used to say back in the mid 70s. Looked like an inside fastball. Nope, outside part of the plate. Eric finds the range.
So there's a good play by Rondell White down the line. And Todd Hundley stands in. Hundley so far today has bounced into a double play. And he takes one inside for ball one. What was your first year in the booth?
1980. With Harry Callis, Richie Ashburn, Chris Wheeler of the Philadelphia Phillies, Andy Musser. Then I worked with Bob Costas. It was both of our first network games. Boston at California, the Big A in Anaheim.
The popular split screen, which was then reintroduced, and now you can find it at least on any Fox telecast, whether it's on the network level or the Fox Sports Net level. Everybody's big into split screens, which they used back in the 70s. 2 balls and a strike, 1 on, nobody out. Floats away. 3 balls and a strike. We've already mentioned a couple of times that we're doing this to pay tribute to the men and women who came before us at other networks. But I will say this, certainly without trying to be self-serving, the job that our producer Michael Weissman, our director Bill Webb, who is just phenomenal, as Hundley taps it foul, 3-2. Derek Manning with the graphics, everybody who helped go back through time and mark each year and each advancement technologically, and who helped put this on the air today to make it look very similar to the way it used to be covered on television. Gary Lang with that great pregame. The guys, the job they did on the air. KARROS going, swing and a miss, and the throw down to second is wide and loose. And KARROS gets his 3rd stolen base of the year as Hundley strikes out for the first out here in the 4th.
Eric stealing this perhaps because Todd Hundley had such a mighty swing at his backswing interfered with Jeff Reed and his throw to second base. We'll check it out one more time. Look at the backswing of Todd Hundley. It keeps Reed behind the plate long enough for the errant throw to go into the runner. And KARROS has a rare stolen base.
74, Carl Douglas. Everybody, why don't you get up and kung fu fight? Why'd you bring that up?
Sorry.
3-1 Cubs. We've said the name Harry Coyle already in this broadcast. A guy who for basically 40 years wrote the blueprint, the Bible, as to how to cover baseball on television. Began with the DeMont Network in 1947. He co-directed his first World Series that year. He directed 36 World Series. Also did Rose Bowls, U.S. Open golf, NCAA basketball championships. Some things you might not know about Harry Coyle. If you knew that, B-17 pilot during World War II. Flew 35 combat missions over Europe. From Paterson, New Jersey. And he passed away 5 years ago. And so while we all pay tribute to so many who have come before us, we point a lot of this in the direction of Harry Coyle, who should be in baseball's Hall of Fame. 2 balls, no strikes, and that's on the outside corner, 2-1.
It was Harry Coyle who put that cameraman in the scoreboard at Fenway Park. In the off chance that something exciting may happen.
Talking about 1975?
75 World Series, Game 6 off Pat Darcy. A home run by Carlton Fisk, captured by Harry Coyle's cameraman.
And the story is that the camera was inside the Green Monster, obviously. And also inside the Green Monster, just to the side of the cameraman, was a rat. And so the cameraman was at least a little worried about the rat and had his attention diverted partially, and therefore kept that shot of Fisk long enough to see him wave that ball, or try to wave that ball fair, keep it fair. And then the excitement in the crowd behind Carlton Fisk at Fenway Park. One of the greatest shots in the history of baseball on television, and a rat had much to do with it.
Lou Gerard, the cameraman, and called beautifully by Dick Stockton. In those days, local broadcasters would broadcast one inning of a game during the World Series, and it just so happened that Dick Stockton, that was his inning, and he had the call of Carlton Fisk. That famous home run to win Game 6.
Marty Brenneman was a part of it for Cincinnati. Just went into the Hall of Fame this year. And we will switch from 1974 color to 1985 color. And the shift, obviously a look that also includes computer generated graphics. Much more cleaner look in 1985 as Alex Cora stands in. 0 for 1 this afternoon. These graphics and these looks, I'm sure, are taking a lot of people back to when they grew up watching baseball on television. 1 ball, 1 strike, and Cora chops it foul outside third. Strike 2.
15 years ago in New York City, a 20-year-old pitcher went 24-4 with a 1.53 ERA, and Doc Gooden took New York City by storm his second year after winning 16 in '84.
When he first came onto the scene and he had that season, what did you think you were seeing? One of the best ever?
I thought so. Youngest pitcher to ever win the Cy Young Award.
2 balls, 2 strikes, and Cora fouls it away.
I mean, he won 40 games before he was 21.
So we're talking about the difference with the computer generated graphics. We're talking about a difference in color, and we're talking about a pitcher who's still pitching.
Yeah.
Even with all the off-field trouble, and Dwight Gooden, who is a long reliever now for the New York Yankees. Alex Cora trying to get on to start this 5th inning for the Dodgers. It's a 3 ball, 2 strike count.
Yankees trying to fend off the Boston Red Sox. The Yankees losing last night, along with the Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays. Yankees 3 games ahead of the Red Sox in the American League East, and 5.5 ahead of Toronto.
By the way, we would typically have a blimp coverage by now, but weather has kept it out of the area. We understand it's on its way. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And that's down the line and foul off the bat of Alex Cora. Meanwhile, Seattle has a 1.5 lead over the Oakland A's in the AL West. That's an RF camera, radio frequency camera, and it can go anywhere, and that was introduced at this time. Middle part of the 80s, and you can walk around and take people, at least at home, sitting in their living rooms, places they hadn't been before. That's Cora with a good battle and a line drive and a left, caught by Rondell White. 1 away here in the 5th inning.
It's a huge adjustment when you go from playing left field at the Big O in Montreal to playing left field at Wrigley Field. Every fly ball is an adventure, as Rondell White shows. Rondell with a fine play staying with that ball.
Multiple angle replays now for your viewing pleasure, as Hergis, who already has a hit today, fouls it away. This is not only an education for people we're bringing this game to, it's an education for me.
Me too. Yeah.
No balls, 1 strike, 1 out, nobody on, and strike 2 on Hergis. Matt singled up the middle his first time up. 1 of 4 Dodger hits on the day. 1 and 2. And misses the corner. 2 and 2. For the first time, we give you the shot from the low home camera. 8 cameras in all that are at our disposal. As Hergis gets a pretty good rip, it's still 2 and 2. In case you're wondering how the 8 cameras would compare to, let's say, a World Series telecast this year. During a World Series, Bill Webb, our director, will have the capabilities of 22, 24 cameras, somewhere in that neighborhood, as Hergis swings and misses strike 2. Thank you, guys. Top of the 6th inning, a 3-1 Chicago lead. Kevin Tapani trying to protect that. And we are now in 1996. The Fox box looks a little different than you would have seen it the last couple of years. Graphics look a little different. You going to telestrate something for the people?
Yeah, I telestrated the Fox box.
Oh, I missed
there.
that.
There you go. Not only do we have a telestrator, but we have a new telestrator.
You can't put
squares.
You cannot do that.
Baseballs.
Into right center field. That's a hit for Grzelcyk. He's 2 out of 3, and that's a good start to the inning for the Dodgers. Buford holds Grzelcyk to a single. With the heart of the order coming up.
Also now with super slow-mo, as Grzelcyk, boy, I know a lot of hitters wish hitting were that easy, that the ball slowed down to where you had a good look at it. One thing Kevin Tapani has done today, he's kept the ball in the ballpark. He has yielded 33 home runs this year. That is 5 away from the National League lead, that ignominious lead held by Jose Lima of the Houston Astros. He's given up 38 round trippers on the year.
Kevin Tapani will tell you, though, along some lines is not the worst thing in the world, because it means that he's giving innings and he's out there at least to give up the home runs.
That's true.
2-0.
Let's take a look at another innovation here at Fox. A hot zone on Sean Green.
Looks like the Rubik's Cube that Lyons had in his hands when we introduced the 1985 season. 2 balls, no strikes. What a rip by Green. 2-1. Thank you, guys. Top of the 6th inning, a 3-1 Chicago lead. Kevin Tapani trying to protect that. And we are now in 1996. The Fox box looks a little different than you would have seen it the last couple of years. Graphics look a little different. You going to telestrate something for the people?
Yeah, I telestrated the Fox box.
Oh, I missed that.
There you go. Not only do we have a telestrator, but we have a new telestrator.
You can't put
squares.
You cannot do that.
Baseballs.
Into right center field. That's a hit for Grzelcyk. He's 2 out of 3, and that's a good start to the inning for the Dodgers. Buford holds Grzelcyk to a single. With the heart of the order coming up.
Also now with super slow-mo, as Grzelcyk, boy, I know a lot of hitters wish hitting were that easy, that the ball slowed down to where you had a good look at it. One thing Kevin Tapani has done today, he's kept the ball in the ballpark. He has yielded 33 home runs this year. That is 5 away from the National League lead, that ignominious lead held by Jose Lima of the Houston Astros. He's given up 38 round trippers on the year.
Kevin Tapani will tell you, though, along some lines is not the worst thing in the world, because it means that he's giving innings and he's out there at least to give up the home runs.
That's true.
2-0.
Let's take a look at another innovation here at Fox. A hot zone on Sean Green.
Looks like the Rubik's Cube that Lyons had in his hands when we introduced the 1985 season. Between shellackings, but he is back on the downside. Catcher cam now. We are in the present, maybe even the future. 1 ball, 1 strike. For 3, the Dodgers lead now, and Greg Olson is the new pitcher for Los Angeles. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2-1.
So in 61 years, baseball and the televising of baseball has gone from one overhead camera to a camera behind the plate worn by the catcher on his mask. That's pretty cool.
And again, that's from an ex-catcher. 2 balls and a strike. 3-1 on Sosa. Olson on the mound, the second pitcher of the day for the Dodgers. In line for his first major league win as a starter is Matt Hergis, who's finished after 5 innings, settled down, allowed 3 runs on 4 hits, a walk, and a strikeout. The numbers for Olson this season, who's been on the disabled list for much of it. That's ripped down the line, fair. Into the corner, should be a double for Sosa. Haven gets it back in, and a good start to the 6th inning for the Cubs.
From catcher cam, up and in on the 3-1 fastball to Sosa. Sammy's a tough enough hitter, but when he knows what's coming and gets it, lethal.
Guys are showing off now down there in the truck. You notice that?
Yeah, yeah.
Tying run at second with nobody out. Rondell White, Damon Buford, and Willie Green will take their hacks and try to tie this game with a hit. Put the Cubs on top with the long ball. The Cubs as a group have hit only 155 home runs. And as a team come in hitting 259, which is 14th in the National League. And in case you used to watch baseball in 1939, there are 16 teams in the National League now. So that's not good. The 0-1 from Olson.
That was the number of teams in all of baseball in 1939. 16, 8 in each league.
One ball, 1 strike. Runner at second. The tying run. Nobody out. White is 0 for 1. Checked his swing, and he's up on the count. 2 balls and a strike.
When Rondell White was a member of the Montreal Expos, he was a favorite of the manager Felipe Alou. Felipe nicknamed him Thunder Hands. He lays off of this breaking ball. Feather hands there, laying off that nasty, wicked breaking ball.
Here's a 2-1 from Olson. The opposite way, a base hit. Here comes Sosa. The throw by Green. Too late. Tie game.
I am not a proponent of catchers wearing their masks. However, you could see that peek toward third base to look at the runner. But the one reason that I don't think wearing the mask when you're trying to make the tag at home is your peripheral vision is cut down. Hundley blocks the plate, or wanted to, but Sosa comes through that lane left open by Todd because he had to go down and block the ball.
You can see, as we showed you the catcher cam shot, that he never turned and saw Sosa because he was playing the short hop.
Right.
And there's a ball low to Damon Buford.
One thing a catcher will do on a throw from right field, you pick the runner up when he rounds the bag at third. So therefore, you're concentrating on fielding the ball and making the catch. You don't know where he is. By taking the mask off, you have a better presence and a better feel for the runner. But there are an awful lot of catchers who don't agree with that. It used to be you would never. There's the base hit to right field. Now watch Sosa. There's the look right there. Back to right.